Sorry, Jen, feel free to record. And Jeremy, sorry, carry on.
No problem. That's all right. Yes, so friendly places. We sitting in these meetings and hearing the scale of the problem facing the country and the health service, we really realised that actually faith communities have a real role to play in this, in terms of supporting people with mental health issues. I know that's something that is close to a lot of our hearts on this call. And for many faith communities, it's part of their bread and butter. It's what they do in terms of welcoming people. But we just really felt there was an opportunity to give faith organisations the chance to receive more training. At the core of Friendly Places is a pledge to say, we're going to sign up to this. We're going to commit to be a friendly place. We're going to, be clear about our stance on mental health and seek to talk about it and reduce stigma and that kind of thing. And we've had a number of people sign up to that. And maybe Jenny can pop in the chat the number of people that have. I can't bring the figure to my mind right at this moment, but it's always increasing. And so that's just a bit of a background to it. And of course, that's a number of years ago. Obviously, we're now talking in the middle of a pandemic, which we know is going to have a huge impact, has had a huge impact on the mental health of our population. And actually, I think the full impact of that really won't be seen for quite a long time, because I think even after the immediate health concerns of COVID have subsided, the mental health concerns will still continue. It's had a huge effect on loneliness as well, which we know even before the pandemic was a huge problem, with over 9 million people in the UK saying they felt always or often lonely. So it really is a big issue. And particularly after the first lockdown, we at Faith Action started to consider, what would it look like to be a friendly place in the context of lockdown? Obviously, in this time, many of us have been switching online, moving some of our meetings or worship services or the services that we offer to the community into online groups. And it really got us thinking, how do we create an online space that is welcoming to people with mental health issues in a similar way to we would do that in the physical? How would we welcome people online? How would we organize events and activities that promote good mental health, that support people in that way? And so we developed a list of top tips, and I'm sure Jenny will pop that in the chat for you to have a look. And really, these are top tips for helping support people's mental health during lockdown. Much of it is quite obvious, simple, obvious advice. But actually, it's sometimes things that we don't always think of. And I'm the worst with this. When I'm organizing a Zoom meeting or a discussion group or something, obviously, sometimes I forget the obvious things that help people feel welcome. But it's things like assuming mental health issues are for everyone, that it's something that we're open to ask people about, even if they seem to be okay, saying, how's your mental health doing? How are you coping at this time? Because sometimes just opening that window for a conversation can be the thing that allows people to open up and share their concerns and their struggles, and actually lead them towards getting help for that. So do have a look at that. We would be really interested to hear what you think about our top tips. Have you tried any of these things? Are they things that you have discovered independently to be really positive? Are there things that you perhaps disagree with and think, oh, I'm not sure about that, or different ideas? We'd love to have a discussion on that. We may not get a chance this morning to go into all the ins and outs of that, but my email will be put in the chat, and you can get in touch with me or any of us to talk more about that. But that's just a little bit of an overview from me. Martin, was there anything else you wanted me to talk about?
That's great. Thanks, Jeremy. So what I'd like to do is introduce Sue to you, Sue Parker. Sue's title, I suppose, is she's a coordinator for a project called Bringing People Together. And hopefully she's going to talk to us a little bit about what she does and what the project's all about. So Sue, probably need to unmute yourself. And were you going to be sharing some slides, Sue?
I'll start by talking, then I'll share a few slides so that you can capture what I'm saying. Okay. So Bringing People Together is a it's a support structure to support organisations that run groups. We started in response to the first lockdown. We saw I was a place of welcome coordinator in the Black Country, and we saw amazing things happening in individual groups. And we were like, how can we support those groups and spread the word? So we've now got over 14, probably 16 groups running. Some of them are now increasing so that they're running twice a week rather than just once a week. And they're all over different faith groups or community groups, and we just offer it out. I'll tell you more about it in a moment. I've just come from a group. I run 2 groups in my local area because they're based on areas. Most of them are based on areas. Some are based on people groups, and I'll come to that in a moment. But I said, I'm coming on this to talk about mental health, and I was wondering what you think I need to tell people. And this is a group, there was about 8 of us. We're quite a small group, like you, just coffee, no agenda. We played 2 Truths and a Lie this morning because it was a good way of getting to know people a bit more. And they said, it's great to meet with friendly people and ordinary people. Just a chance to meet with ordinary people is useful for our mental health. Just have a laugh and have fun in life. It is really important, and that is someone who I know is struggling with their mental health. Seeing someone smile and connect with someone. So these are really small things that we do. We have groups that do all sorts of things, and we've got some groups that do specifically look at well-being. We've got a group of mainly Asian women in Lai that have 200 people on a WhatsApp group, and that comes into a bringing people together group of about 40. And they are really supporting their community throughout this and using the coffee morning idea as a structure to do many other things, including homework groups and all sorts of things. I'll just share my screen now. And you can't do 2 things at once, can you? That's the joy of this. So let me get my screen shared. So bringing people together is what we are, and what our strapline is: connecting people to others from the comfort of their own home. I'm from Transforming Communities Together, and those are some of the people that I work with, and we work on many projects, including all these things that you can see. So I work in community cohesion, and one of my colleagues works in near neighbours. I used to work in places of welcome, and someone's had to take over my job because I'm now doing bringing people together. So we have a range of things that we're doing in Transforming Communities Together, and please ask me about any of these if you want to. But so what happened, as I said, I saw things happening and was like, can we replicate places of welcome online? And so we applied for the National Lottery Community Fund and have done a 6-month project that's now been extended, so it will be a total of a year project. And currently we've got groups in the Black Country, Dudley, Lichfield, Shropshire, Tamworth, Walsall, West Bromwich and Wolverhampton. And I'm talking to probably about at least 10, if not 15 more groups that want to set up. Our website is bringingpeopletogether.org.uk. Please look it up. But what we realised is that we needed to be inclusive. So we needed to have telephone and online. That means that we offer people to use Zoom Pro because you get the advantages of the telephone line in. And that was vital because we wanted to be able to invite everybody, welcome everyone and respect everyone. And that also means that we needed to keep people safe. So a lot of my work in the early days was working out how to make Zoom, how to publicise these groups so everyone found out about them, but they were safe when they happened. So that means that we use waiting rooms. I can get really geeky about all the things, and that so I have training that I do on video that tells you how to do the settings for Zoom. We also don't normally publicise the link. We'll publicise the meeting ID, and I put that into a JPEG for every group, so that the information's available. We also, as hosts, all the hosts are trained to support others in joining the group, which hopefully will just be joining by telephone or online. And I've done lots of videos and stuff to try and get that word out. I also make leaflets for each group to so that they can give it to individuals, to the information to how to join in the different ways, dependent on what technology people have got. So what we realised is vital to our groups is having a set of principles, which is very similar to Places of Welcome, if you've heard of those. They all work with this underlying principles of inviting everyone. And we realised also that we could, for this pilot, have self-identifying groups. So we've actually got women's groups that are running. We've got carers groups that are running LGBTQ plus groups. We've got asylum seeker LGBTQ plus group. It's open. So what we've done is realised we've got a tool. Let's open it to as many people as possible. But if you are a self-identifying group, you still open it up to everyone. Okay, you welcome everyone, and by doing that, you as talked about with the friendly places, we've got to make them safe. They've got to be safe, and everyone's got to be welcomed. And that also reflects the diversity of the neighbourhood. It's useful when you go to a group that you think, oh, I can fit in here. I feel welcomed. And we also aim to value the contributions of each participant. Again, these are more quotes that have happened. Each group is very different. I don't decide how people run a group. All I do is give them clues about how to facilitate a group so that it facilitates in a natural way. So you don't have to look at the screen. And I think, and we also use breakout rooms as well. There's ways of making this, like Martin was saying, about it's okay to do your knitting, it's okay. And we give people permission to do that because then it's less exhausting, because we all know about how technology exhausts us. And we use breakout rooms to facilitate the idea of a table. So I say, if there's more than 6 people, let's get people in a breakout room, tell them what it's like. Especially if you're on the phone, you just automatically get moved in and out of a breakout room. I think for people's mental health, I just want to be there. I want it to be part of the conversation, but sorry, my dog's barking. I think this quote is quite important. Poppy, I apologise. So this gentleman found the sessions gave a routine and then a highlight to his week. He's been able to talk through what's happened to him during the week and where his mental health is important. He's also learning how to be more polite in conversations. And then another person was a wallflower when they met in person, which this was a group that met in person. But online, he tells a joke of the week and participates fully in a quiz. He likes being able to keep his camera off, and it gives him more confidence. The other thing about joining by telephone is we had somebody join a couple of weeks ago by telephone, and they're obviously struggling. And I realised that it's a way of joining without declaring who you are. They live in our neighbourhood, but I will never know that they joined.
Right.
If you do, I'm nearly there. If you do want to find out about more bringing people together, we are broadening it out and opening it wide and trying to work out how we can do it nationally. So we've got a webinar happening on the 12th of February. But please ask me any questions. Thank you.
We'll send those details out soon to everybody that's here. So, but thank you for that. So yeah, it's all very practical, very interesting. So yeah, that's really good. I'm also now going to just ask Sumitra from the Radha Krishna Temple which is sort of based over in the back of Romford. It's funny because I grew up in Romford, so I was finding out from Radoresh, where the temple is. And it's just going to be a sort of a brief update really on what you've been doing by way of being a support to those with mental health in your community. So so Mitra, if you'd like to just take a few minutes and talk to us if you can.
Okay, thank you, Martin. Namaste to everybody.
Namaste.
Namaste. I'm first time here, and I will tell what we are doing in our, because I'm not going to tell you about the religion or anything, because that will be out of the line. What we are doing during that lockdown, we have the Zoom meeting in the morning, 9:30 to 10 o'clock, and in the evening, 7:30 to 8 o'clock. This is the everyday. And we run the special program to extend. So when sometimes 30, 37, on Sunday we have 37, 40 people come on the Zoom and they sing along. It's a community service, because in difficult time, we always think that God will help us. So we just chant everybody, whatever they like to sing and how they want to express themselves. So everybody got it 2-3 minutes or 5 minutes. That's we do. We are doing in the morning, once a week, we are doing the meditation center for the well-being of their mind and mental health. And 7 days, they do the practice their own. And the teacher who is teaching us how to meditate, he will discuss what the difficulty people are getting when they sit for the meditation. So that's we are looking after their mental health. Mostly in our group at the moment, mostly middle-aged people or older people are there. And we ask when our session ends, we ask how they are keeping, if any problem. And what we don't discuss on the Zoom, we give them the number. They all have our numbers and emails. They can talk to us. And then we got some couple of doctors, accountant, and nurses, all this. Then we ask them, the person, that whenever you got the time, you talk to that person and they talk whatever is there. So it's a one-to-one service we do. We don't do because people are so scared to talk about their problem on the Zoom because they don't want to know everybody what is their problem. There are some financial problems, there are mental problems, there are physical problems, a lot of problems we have, but we have the qualified people on our list, and they don't come on the Zoom because they are all working from mostly doctor working from 8 to 10 o'clock these days, nurses also in the financial problem, people work in the 9 to 5 on their home. So that's how we are trying to channel tell them the proper channel. If we can't handle that problem, then we guide them which channel. They can go to the Citizen Advice Bureau. They can go for the mental health people if the serious problem is there. And if they can't, some people they can't get the appointment for their doctors, because a lot of elderly people, they are not very familiar with the technical things. So we arrange all this. So that's what we do. And also we arrange the funerals on the Zoom. And somebody just rang our priest that their children's birthday coming and they want to do some religious ceremony. So we will arrange that for them especially. And then they will, all their families can join because they want all their family to be there when they cut the cake of their child, that kind. People are asking if there is special wedding, then we arrange so we are as a social group, we are working. Yeah. That's the main thing we do. Because we don't have a particular department for this and that, because we are based on mostly on religion, but this is our side work. and we are thinking of starting another group just to where people come and chat. And this is what we do every day in the morning. We do the prayers for 10 minutes in the evening, 10 minutes in the evening. And then people, if they say, can I pray? I say, all right. So they pray with all the, we shut our microphones, and the one person, he is only pray there. And sometimes people ask our priest to do the special worship for them. If they are in any trouble, then our priest perform that ritual.
Right. So Metra, thank you. I'm just gonna jump in there because it sounds like you're doing obviously a lot of support things over Zoom. That sounds really good. I just want to move it along a little bit because I'm sure we'll have questions for either yourself or for Sue, and also maybe you can share some of your experiences on how you're currently supporting groups in this current situation. So this is where we ask you to unmute and feel free to ask a question. You may need to raise a hand. There's a little button at the bottom under reactions, which basically means you can raise your hand if you want to ask a question and things like that. But do feel free. And as Jenny's just said, that we are going to send out emails with all the links to the various things that we've talked about already. So who would like to kick us off? Who either has a question for Sue or whatever you might want? So go on, who's going to be brave? Is that Alistair? Have you got your hand up, Alistair? Or are you just adjusting your camera? Brian, can see a thumb there. Do you want to? Have you got a question for us or something you want to share? Brian, that's...
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a contrast, really. I'm at the Baptist Church in Rugby, and our regular prayer meeting used to be on a Wednesday evening. Just a very few people attended. And now, since last June, we've had a prayer meeting from 9 o'clock until 9:20 every day. We're getting 10 or more people coming. So, you know, that's one thing that's happened that's been really good. But then we used to have house groups, and people used to meet together, perhaps 30 or 40 people in different groups. But now, you know, that seems to have reduced. People have found it quite difficult to carry on with those groups. So they're so used to sitting in the same room together and sharing views and support. And in fact, they were very supportive towards one another when they all sat together. But now we're a scattered community, and we're trying to do it on Zoom. We're down to just 2 groups now with just, you know, a few people. So I'm really interested to hear what Sue is saying, and you know, maybe we can revitalize some of those groups. And I really love the word community cohesion, because those 2 words have been rattling around in my head in the last nearly 20 years since I've been retired, and we've been doing different projects, but of course, hands-on practical things, food banks, that sort of thing. But now we're having to rethink the whole thing. How do you do it virtually?
Yeah. Thank you, Brian. Sue, did you want to add anything to that?
Just to say, I think that it's the technical confidence that's the challenge. And what I would do is so we're running as Transforming Communities Together a webinar on how to get people online, and there's community groups in your area that will be hopefully got funding to provide that training. So I would encourage your faith groups to mobilize those people who are really lacking in confidence, and get them to take. So we've got one with WEA. I don't know whether there's limits on how many people that can come. We've got something happening on I think the 25th of February, but there will be equivalents in your area. Look to your community groups to find, and then that will also help partnership, because we've got so much partnership happening because of this, and just to encourage you to look outside the faith groups to get training.
So there was in the chat, Sue, there was a question earlier about whether people need any particular training to run these groups. I don't know if you saw that, but
I didn't.
Any thoughts on that?
I think so. If you look at Zoom carefully, then they will tell you the settings. It's keeping an eye, as host, keeping an eye on whoever comes in, that you know their name, and keeping an eye on the mute button, and thinking that there's two people involved in this. I don't think you can run it by yourself, even a house group. You need someone to do the talking and someone to do the technical side. And that technical person is, if there's somebody that you don't know in the group, you are keeping an eye on what's happening to keep everybody safe. I think but it's not too technical. It's just having that confidence. So I think it's building people's confidence in the tech and giving people. So I'm training people all the time, but Zoom has the information, but literally I would make sure that no one can find it from outside the UK. And you can do that in your Zoom settings.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank
Martin?
you. Hi.
Let me just jump in. Hi, everyone. Lovely to see so many people here today. It's interesting to hear the conversation so far. We've focused quite a bit on the internet and virtual meetings. I'm just interested to hear what people have done within the guidance about actually meeting people physically. Because I know 5-minute conversation on the doorstep or back from the doorstep seems to be much more fulfilling than a half-hour Zoom. Not that I want any of you lot to leave. It's lovely to see everyone here, but I'm just interested to hear what other people say. I think Martin David's got his hand up there. David Sutherland.
Yeah, David, do you want to?
Yeah, support groups up to 15 are still allowed to meet physically, even within the current regulations. Yeah. And also food banks are allowed, and also services to the homeless. Now, and it's not actually defined in the legislation, can provide goods, services, food and drink, and allow people into the meeting. So in Bury, the only place you can come in, have a hot food with waiter service is effectively the homeless community centre. Yeah. So it's easy. So while a lot of people don't want to meet physically, there are some that can, and you can provide services from your centre. So we have social service workers basically made it their base, the Rough Sleepers intervention team. Yeah. We did have drug and alcohol in, but they've been told from on high that they can't do it at the moment, but that's another matter. And various other opportunities. And also it's a base where people can meet with their social workers, mental health workers and so on. So it's not allowed, but obviously some people are reluctant to.
Sure. Yeah. No, David, I think that's really interesting, because I think what you pick up on there, which I'm sure we're all seeing, is the byproduct of mental health alongside other things. I think that the Thursday night clap was quite interesting for just giving people an excuse. And I think a lot of this is giving people an excuse to connect. For those of you used to traveling on the tube in London, back in the day when we used to travel on the tube close, it was amazing what a delay did. It meant that everyone could start talking to each other. So I think certainly in London, where we don't look each other in the face anyway, we have to provide some of those excuses for people to interact. And I think people are keen to do that. And I think it's interesting to hear what David says about essentially using those other possibilities to connect. I think walking and talking is the key thing. It's interesting, they did some work around the protests in the summer to see if there'd been an uptake or an increase of COVID cases on the back of all of those people gathered together. And there seemed to be very little effect on. So essentially, if you're outside and moving, it seems to be it's safer than other things. So that's something to bear in mind. Anyway, I'm interested to hear what other people have to say.
Yeah, great. I just one quick story. I do a couple of days a week for our local community resources. It's a hub, and we've been open up until recently, offering support groups for basically vulnerable men and women and families. Although the centre's closed at the moment, partly because people had voted with their feet in the current situation, we have continued to provide hot meals, and we now deliver 25 hot meals at lunchtimes. And it's not only the hot meals that is important, but it's that interaction on the doorstep for 10 minutes just to chat to people, to find out how they are, is what really is appreciated. So, you know, we've had that continuing at the moment. I just saw something in the chat about, I think it was from Deepak, about you can still have up to 15 people as part of a support group, if it's like an ongoing support group for vulnerable or mental health issues and things like that. So that is still part of the legislation at the moment. So there's a couple of hands up. So Marcus, you're up in the top corner there with your hand up. Do you want to unmute yourself and
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I joined the meeting late, homeschooling at the same time. And just a quick one for Sue, maybe for you and for Dan. Hi, Dan. We, as a church leader and as a church, we have concentrated most of our, well, all of our Zoom meetings really upon the church, and have tried to ensure that we're keeping everybody healthy and that everybody's got contact, because we know for our church, for our people, if they are healthy, we know a number of them will be active in terms of reaching out to others. So we're starting really at that base. But if we're to go beyond this, I may have missed this, but is any DBS, whatever it's called, clearance advisable for people who start these groups? What's the legislation on that, and what's wise? And are there any big no-nos when it comes to what you should be, what information that you get from people, or how you present yourself to those who come on the call?
Yeah, I'll just jump in. I mean, obviously Sue's talked about some of those things, and I think some of the links that she's given will help. Yeah,
sorry.
Well, that's no problem. We'll get those things sent over to you. I think there's always a balance in these things, Marcus. There is no piece of paper and no procedure which can ever do away with trust. And I think it's interesting. I had a conversation with NHS last week. There's a real issue about releasing hospital beds, and they want to see if there's ways that people can be cared for or looked out for in the community, but they can't do an official drive on it because they'll get wrapped up in red tape. So there's a potential call going to come out, or a campaign of essentially something like "Go on, be nosy," because part of the thing is you can't get the red tape, you can't get sufficient safety there. I will talk about experiences though. So we have got a method quite similar to what Sue's had here, that people sign on for Eventbrite and then we send them the link. That came through a hard-won experience of us having an evening event, and we got Zoom bombed, which meant that people arrived and shouted and did whatever and that kind of thing. Which and so the disruption is something I think you have to watch out for in those things. But I find that in the day there seems to be less danger of people coming online. It depends how far you push things. We'd actually tweeted out a link in our innocence to start with, but and it may well have been an American connection because we were actually doing a joint event with someone in the States. But we will get that stuff pushed out, Marcus, for you, and very happy to catch up. Just so everyone knows, Marcus and I know each other from a long time. We've not seen each other in years, so and I'm hoping to get up and sometime to Lancaster and see you.
Great, mate.
Yeah, so we'll catch up on that one specifically, but there may be other things. I don't know, Sue, if there's any little like a tip line you've got to help on that.
We realise that it's not DBS issue, but it's the issue of making sure that the hosts are equipped. So that so I don't know the host, they could come from anywhere. So I asked for an organisation to give us their safeguarding and GDPR responsibility for the group, so that there is some backbone to each of our groups that then hopefully gives people confidence in that group. Yeah, and I'm trying to think, there was another part that I was going to say. It's from the hosts and giving people confidence in the hosts, and I think we should open it up to strangers. We've got the skills. If we've got two people, all I need is two people to host a group, then 40 people can join. You know, it's not rocket science here. It's just those two people having confidence and just being wise. So it's not necessarily GBS. We do always make sure that there's always more than two people in a group. If I'm doing breakout groups, there's always more than three. There's a help button at the top of a breakout group, so the stuff's in there. It's just being confident, I think, and thinking through. We also, in the training, I took a look at plan Bs. What happens if something goes wrong, so you're equipped.
Thank you, Sue. Yeah, Jackie, you have a hand up. So
hi everyone. So this is my first time, and I feel like a southerner. I miss everybody because I've come from Buckinghamshire.
No, that's fine. You're still further north than we are, so that's okay.
Okay. Well, so just context, I'm one of a team in a Baptist church. I'm a minister. My oversight is of the pastoral care in the church, and we've got about 350 people. So we have a whole number of different aspects of, Daniel, you're asking, what do we do in terms of doorstep visits? Yeah, we found that for the lonely people, a doorstep visit is the best if we can do that, as long as they don't feel overwhelmed by that, and we've had to work those things out. And delivering meals, we've got a seniors team that we have delivery of meals every Wednesday, and again it's those doorstep visits. Passing over the meal is one thing, they look forward to that, but they just love having somebody ask them how they are. So it's in some ways very simple, and we've kind of set up the WhatsApp groups around the streets, which I know lots of people did around. And that in my own street has just brought people together completely. People we would have just walked past up to now. It's lovely. But the thing I really just wanted to highlight was an organisation that I've come across in this lockdown period, which I vaguely knew about before, is called Kintsugi Hope. I don't know if anybody else has ever seen these people. So they run well-being groups, and it's a very good training process. Actually, everybody who joins to be a leader of a group, and the aim of it is that you meet together with people, anybody, not just from faith, to cover areas of well-being. So there are 12 weeks in it, and it covers ordinary topics like honesty, anxiety, depression, shame, anger, disappointment, forgiveness, self-acceptance, healthy relationships. And they do a very clear training. They do the training on how do you lead a group, so which I found to be really helpful. We're hopefully about to start one of these online. It would have been lovely if we could do it in person, but we feel at the moment the risk factor is too high. But so kintsugihope.org, if you're interested in something that's very structured to talk through these topics, to make sure you've got all your ducks in a row. I just was impressed, very impressed. And it came out of the man who set it up, who basically talked about the fact that he'd had a breakdown. And so he understands it from the inside. And they're basically communities where it's okay not to be okay. I love that as its little mandate. It's okay not to be okay. Recognizing it's aiming to get people to be better, but actually it's in community that people find growth. And it's not because it's a programmed teaching, and it's not just for people with really critical mental health. It's for anybody. So anyway, I just wanted people to be aware of it.
Thank you, Jackie. Jackie, if you send the details to Jenny, we can make sure that that goes out to everybody that's here this morning.
Okay, sure.
So that's great. Thank you.
I'll put it on the chat. Shall I do that?
Yeah, you can put it on the chat. Yeah.
I don't know where I've gone on. Oh, I just want to say hello. I'm sorry I joined you late as well. Yeah, I live in a place called Ilkley in West Yorkshire. I don't know if you know. So are all these people from all over the country then?
We are national, yes.
Yeah. I really just came to see what it was all about, really. I must say that where I live, there's a lot going on. I mean, we're all in the same boat. You can't do your usual things, and but we have lots going on here. We have a U3A, and I don't know if you've heard of that, U3A.
No.
Yeah. Strangely enough, a lot of people haven't. Well, we have it's a University of the Third Adventist or something. Sorry?
University of the Third Age.
That's it. Yeah. And there's lots of Zoom meetings with that. Of course, it depends on your finance. It is quite expensive, I think, not to join, but to do different things. But really, as I say, I came on here really just to see what this was all about. And I don't think that I can contribute anything more than what anybody else has said. I mean, mental health, yes, it does affect your mental health in many ways, and everybody's different what they've been doing or whatever. And here we're just the same as anywhere else. There's it's this what you're doing now, Zoom meeting. Everything's on Zoom, and there's quite an elderly population in Ilkley. They keep to themselves. You're lucky if you're a couple. I'm not a couple. I'm saying that. Perhaps it is difficult for some people, a couple, but if you're a family, I have family down south as well. So I've missed everything this year of going to see, well, last year going to see them towards December. So yes, it does. I'm sure everybody's affected in different ways. And of course, there's the financial issue, isn't there, of a lot of people that are working, have been furloughed, or they've had financial problems. I mean, it's difficult for everyone.
Julie, I'm gonna say thank you, because I'm just conscious of the time, and I noticed Jaquetta's got her hand up.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you, Julia. Jaquetta, just a couple of minutes, please.
Yeah, this is just a message for Daniel. If you're coming to Lancaster, Daniel, please can you come up to Kendal? We're only about half an hour by car or half an hour by train.
I'm looking to have a big trip up there, and I'm going to stop at David Miller's place first in Manchester. But no, I'm a frequent visitor, but I'm going to come up your way, Jaquetta. No trouble there.
And I should say, we have the opposite of don't look at anybody here in Cumbria. We're so wonderful. We get offended if anybody doesn't speak to us. It can take you half an hour to walk home from shopping because you have to talk to everybody. And we have a wonderful U3A.
Great. Thanks, Jaquetta. Good. Anyone else? Brian, is that another hand up?
It is, yeah. Just to say, if there's something else you want to do, have controlled contact with other people. My wife and I have both volunteered as volunteer drivers. So this has been organised by Warwickshire. So we're drivers. So, you know, we get called, we can meet with people who need to get to hospital or to wherever for their inoculation. So it's done in a controlled way. You get to meet people, and hopefully, you know, they get the confidence when they've had their jabs that, you know, that things are getting better. So it's just a suggestion.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Brian. That's good. Anyone else want to say anything at all?
There is a point I'd add. Has people, what do they think about the inoculation?
Yeah, we have talked about that on a different coffee morning.
It doesn't matter then, right?
That's right. I noticed Peter's got his hand up there, so thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention youth, because I don't think that's been mentioned at all today. We are based in Croydon, South London, and we intensively mentor young people who are caught up in drugs and crime, self-harm. And the big things we're seeing in COVID at the moment is there's a shockingly poor diagnosis of mental health in teenagers. They develop coping mechanisms, and the professionals just are very, very poor at diagnosing mental health. So you can often live the first 20 years of your life with no help at all. I would say too, there's a lack of hope increasing because of COVID. Educational disruption is dreadful for a lot of the kids. They've been working hard and now they're saying, what's the point? There's a lot of bullying going on in school, particularly through social media, which is now more and more important in their lives. There's a lot of conspiracy theories going on. They don't trust the government. They don't believe what's going on. A death of a grandparent can often be devastating to a young person, and often is not understood at all. They'll look after the parents, but the teenager will just be left to mourn their grandparent that they idolized. And so I would say, please do always be aware of teenagers that are often the last people to be looked after and considered. Mental health is a massive thing in your teenage years. We've all been there. You've got hormones, you've got sexual issues, you've got crime issues, all the pressures of status and work and the rest of it. We don't have any safe places because we don't have a property. we go to them. We go to court with them. We go to hospital with them. We will stand on the driveway and we play games on video. We help them write songs, fitness regimes, whatever it takes. But I would just put a shout out for teenagers. Please do look after them and remember them.
Peter, that's really important. Thank you. And I have visions of you playing Minecraft with them online, but I'm sure that's not what you mean. So that's really good. Any more?
Just a thought. Issues around mental health are often associated with loneliness, and loneliness is a big contributor to people getting into places of unhealthiness. The Office of National Statistics has done a study on loneliness during lockdown and said that there are bigger issues for people aged 16 to 39 than there are for people aged 40 to 69 to loneliness. We tend to think of loneliness as single elderly people, but actually it's single people who are under the age of 40 who are more likely to be struggling.
Thank you. Yeah, that's very interesting again as well. Great. Well, I think we're probably just going to wrap it up there. Thank you everybody for coming. In particular, I'd like to just thank Sue and Sumitra for their contributions, as well as for Jeremy, who did a little introduction. Next week, the subject I noticed was in the chat, and we're going to be looking at the vaccine again. I think we looked at it before Christmas, didn't we? Yeah. And we're going to follow that up now and talk about that again next week. It'd be lovely for you to all come along. It'd be great to see you all again. That's about it. Any more? Jenny, anything to say?
No, that's it.
All right.
Hi,
what we will do, we will email everybody with all the links that have been posted and all the other information as well. So Heather, were you saying something?
Yes, I just wanted to reiterate, Daniel said there's been so much chat on the chat. I'm from Faith Action as well. And we are doing a Zoom masterclass probably mid-March on presentation and facilitation. So how to run a Zoom group chat, how to do the sort of sharing your screen and doing a PowerPoint thing. So do look out for that on our website. And of course, you will get a huge discount of £30 if you are a gold member with Faith Action. So have a look at that as well. Thanks.
If there's enough interest from people, we'll advance that. Mid-March is too late, so we'll do that sooner. But you have to pester us, so we'll crack the whip and get folk doing that quicker. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, Zoom is our preferred thing. We have used other systems. We've got folk that can do Teams as well, but Zoom would be the thing we know about. So if that's a point of interest, do funnel people in our way and we'll get that up and running quicker.
Can I just say something? It's just what Peter was saying. When you're young, not everybody's, again, the circumstances or their parents have the knowledge or whatever, or they haven't, or they've got issues with relationships with their family. They all need guidance to young people in which way to go as regards work. And I'm not saying that university is just the way to go, but they all need some guidance of what work they're going to do, what they're going to go into, and how they're going to proceed that way. And that's the most important thing, that they've got something valuable to offer, from whatever background they're from, that they have that. And that's where I think there must be a team of people that helps young people to go forward. And I'm saying just in some sort of work that they can possibly build on as well. It doesn't matter if it's later on.
Right.
And
I put some links up in the chat related to some programs are available there. So if you can pick up on.
Thank you.
But we will pick up on young people again.
Sumitra, you've got your hand up. You've got 1 minute, Sumitra.
Yes. I want just to say, if anybody, it doesn't matter which faith you are, we are here to help in any kind of way. Just go to the Radha Krishna temple and on Google, you will find our email, and you just, whatever your question, you just post there, and we try our best to help you and to sort out your problem. It doesn't matter what faith you are and
Thank
what
you,
we can
Sumitra.
help you. Okay,
That's
thank
very
you
useful.
much.
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you, everybody. Hopefully we'll see you next week.